This is United Network News with Sunny Galt, Calen Giff, Kimberly Gogan, and our field messengers from around the world. Here's today's real news.
There's an unexpected chill in the air. Several of our field messengers are noticing cooler than usual weather patterns that seem to defy the norm for this time of year. These temperature drops aren't just a passing curiosity. They're having real impacts on local communities. Take a look.
This is Chelsea reporting from Fuquay Arena, North Carolina, where we had an inch and a half of snow, and basically everything in town is shut down. Some restaurants are opening up later, but not much traffic, though it's starting to get out, and things are starting to melt now. It's so pretty that we have it on the ground because we normally don't get any. Last year, 3 years ago, we got about an inch when I first moved here. And this is probably the most I've had since. But it's very nice. There's no school either because everything, again, shuts down. We don't have the equipment. They brine the roads, but it doesn't do a great job. At least the birds are chirping. And by the end of the day, all this will probably be melted because our sun is very hot. But other than that, I do like the snow, and it's very pretty, especially before the cars get on it.
Good morning. This is Chris, UNN Field Messenger in Lake City, South Carolina, very close to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, if you're familiar with the coast. We don't normally get snow here, and we got about 5 inches last night. I'm excited to be bringing you a Field Messenger report later about this little town, which is becoming an art mecca, and it was a dying town. But so I don't want to say too much about my town. But this park is very special to us because this is the former garbage dump. And, okay, so back to the snow, which is what Mike asked for. We really never have snow. We don't get really cold here either. So we don't know if we're going to lose our palm trees and how much our stuff can take it. But we'll see. But anyway, this is a lake that was obviously where the garbage dump was. We've made it into something beautiful, and these are the little trees, and they were all budding out, and I'm hoping that we don't lose the buds. The ducks and the geese seem not to mind. I'm from the Midwest in the United States, and so I'm used to snow, so I immediately went out in it. But it's just stunning, and I had forgotten a lot of things, like I don't have gloves, I don't have a winter coat, and most people don't here. But they came out, and they've been walking, and they've been sledding. The kids were sledding earlier this morning over by that lake. We're building a pickleball court over there, and this is a site for us to really have our family picnics, and for us, we're green all the time, so it's hard to see the birds and the things even in the winter when we're kind of down to the bones of the trees.
Hi, this is Debbie from Plantersville, Texas. We're about 60 miles northwest of Houston, downtown Houston, Texas, and we usually do not have snow. We don't have freezing temperatures. Our average temperature at night is probably low 40s. Monday night it froze. We had snow overnight. Last night the temperature got down to 17. These pictures are what we woke up to Tuesday morning, yesterday morning. We get snow maybe once every 10 years. First picture I'm looking at is the greenhouse, looking out the back side of my house. We have a greenhouse, Quonset hut greenhouse, and then we also have on the right the chicken coop covered with brown tarps. The chickens are in there with 2 heat lamps. Chickens can withstand 0 degrees at night. This picture is taken from my back door. You can see the tack barn. This is taken from my front door. You can see 2 black Angus sheltering in front of my porch. There is a calf and a mom, and the calf was born July 8th, the day the hurricane came through. We do live on a horse ranch. You can see a llama standing straight and tall facing us, and his name is Trigger. He's a cutie, and he's in front of the frozen lake. About 3/4 of the snow melted during midday on Tuesday, but it was down to 17 again last night with water on roadways, which makes for treacherous driving. ER personnel has to shelter in place for 3 days. All school districts and private schools closed for 3 days. Businesses, restaurants, post office, UPS, and medical offices closed on Tuesday and most likely will be closed today. There is a rented metal 2-lane bridge 1 house down from us, so we're not venturing out until the temperatures warm about Thursday or Friday. We're feeding stock and breaking surface of water on troughs. We're looking forward to warming temperatures, even though we expect rain then for 4 days in a row, which is unusual also. After a horrible freeze in February 2021, people are more prepared. Many are letting inside water faucets drip. All exterior pipes are wrapped with insulation and covers are placed on exterior faucets. About 57% of homeowners have wood-burning fireplaces in the Houston area. Usually this is for aesthetics, not for need. In this area, we are close to sea level, so there are no basements. All household water pipes are run through the foundation or are exposed.
Hello, everyone. This is Shireen, Field Messenger for United Network News, coming to you from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Yep, you heard that right. It's snowing in the south. Just thought I would share it with everyone. It looks like we have about 5, maybe 6 inches so far. So we'll have to see what overnight brings us. It's about 11 o'clock at night right now. And it is really coming down. It's perfect snowball snow. I hope you enjoy this little glimpse of this rare opportunity. Have a great night.
This is Field Messenger Robert from Elizabeth City, North Carolina. And last night it started snowing about 7:30ish and stopped around 4:30. We got 6.5 inches of snow. Now it's pretty powdery snow. It dries out, blows pretty easy. Anyway, I'm just showing the front yard, and there's one of my neighbors is walking down the street there, you see. This is the front. We got a little bit of melt because I was out here this morning kind of shoveling off the sidewalk and the driveway a little bit. Last night here in Elizabeth City, North Carolina, it started snowing around 7:30ish, and it stopped before I got up this morning at 4, and we had 6 inches of snow on the ground, or 6.5 inches. It really come through here with big flakes last night. I'm panning around. The sun's shining now, so it's kind of bright, but I'll make it quick. This is my backyard, and this is the snow, as you can see on the picnic tables right there. There's how deep it is. All right. This is it. Have a good day. Field Messenger Robert from Elizabeth City, North Carolina, out.
On New Year's Eve, Puerto Rico faced an extraordinary situation, a complete island-wide blackout. This unexpected event highlights the ongoing struggles with power management on the island. UNN Field Messenger Melissa shares her experience of the day.
Hello, this is Melissa from United Network News. I'm reporting from Puerto Rico. There was a big power outage island-wide from the power companies that they have here. I'm here to report on what's happening. There's a lot of noise right now because people have their generators on. So I just wanted to show you a little bit like that. Today's New Year's Day, or New Year's Eve, I should say. And people here are a little bit upset that the lights went out, and it will take about 24 to 48 hours, only if the conditions are right for the electricity to come back on. So people are putting their generators, turning them on and then turning them off, so they won't lose all of their food inside of their refrigerator. Usually it's not an outage that's an island-wide outage, except for maybe a hurricane. But they're investigating as to why this has happened this time. There has been apparently certain places in the island where they're starting to have some lights, but I believe those are generators. So that's where the generator is at. So that's what we have for right now. So the majority of the people here have gas stoves, thank goodness. So we're doing the coffee, we're doing some fish. some rice, and something typical that they have here, which is pasteles. One of our typical, this is a mass of green bananas and also yuca, which is yarrow root. Just an update, the lights came into the city around 7:50 p.m. They turned off, or the lights went completely out at 5:30 this morning. So from 5:30 until 7:50 p.m., there was no electricity and people were using the generator. So now the neighborhood does have lights, and they're putting on the music and the fireworks for New Year's. Happy New Year!
Africa is a stunning continent, rich in natural beauty, diverse cultures, and breathtaking landscapes. However, traveling within Africa as an African can come with its fair share of challenges. It's ironic, isn't it? You think traveling within your own continent would be simpler, but that's far from the case.
One major issue is traveling within Africa is surprisingly expensive. A 2013 World Bank report found airfare within the continent is about 50% more expensive than in similar regions worldwide. In fact, flying between African countries often costs more than flying from Africa to Europe or Asia, even though the distances are shorter. Travel packages that include multiple African destinations can be pricey too. Round-trip tickets alone can cost double the cost of the entire package. Alternatives like rail or road travel are limited, with unreliable networks and poor roads, making options like buses a tough choice. Taxes on air travel in Africa are also higher than other continents, averaging $64 per passenger compared to $30 in Europe or the Middle East. On top of this, Africa lacks a unified aviation market, forcing airlines to negotiate separately with each country, leading to inconsistent fares and rules. While initiatives like the Open Skies Treaty, also known as the Single African Air Transport Market, were launched to address these issues, little progress has been made since its announcement in 2018.
So from here, I plan to go to Madagascar. That flight was $600. From there, I want to go to Reunion Island. Literally, it's so close, you can probably swim there. That flight is $400. One way. From there to the next island, Mauritius. You can swim there as well if you like. That is another $400. But I want to go to Mozambique after that. To fly from, because I've already looked all this up. To fly from Mauritius way out in the Indian Ocean to Mozambique is $350. But Tanzania, the country like an hour flight away, down south to Matapu, I think it is in Mozambique, is $600.
Also, visa requirements can be a real headache. By 2023, only 28% of African routes allowed visa-free travel for Africans, up from 20% in 2016, according to the Visa Openness in Africa report. Back in 2016, the African Union announced plans to introduce an African passport by 2020. The idea was to make travel across Africa easier, allowing citizens to visit other African countries without needing a visa. The passport was first given to diplomats and African Union officials, with plans to make it available to all African citizens once the right laws are in place. Fast forward to today, and the passport still hasn't even launched. Security concerns and protectionist attitudes amongst African nations have slowed progress, and the AU hasn't provided any updates on when or if it's happening. But even if the passport were introduced, it wouldn't guarantee visa-free travel unless individual countries fully implement it. For example,
In the Economic Community of West African States, or ECOWAS region, where countries already share a common passport, some nations still don't follow all the agreed protocols, making travel less seamless than intended.
Ghana has removed its visa requirements for all Africans. That's a moment of hooray. But wait, why do visas in Africa still exist?
What is happening here is essentially the insistence of the levying of a sort of visitation tax on people who choose to come into the country.
Rwanda, Seychelles, the Gambia, and Benin have also waived visa requirements to promote free movement of Africans. But for the average person, is it really as simple as packing a bag and jumping on a bus or a plane? Yeah, African unity has long been a desire among Pan-Africanists. The African Union, AU, even has a free movement protocol. So why isn't it happening on a large scale?
There is a fear that they will lose revenue that they get from selling visas.
The 2018 Visa Openness Report shows open borders bring big benefits. In Africa, 18 of the 20 most visa-open countries improved their rankings on the World Bank's Ease of Doing Business Index and saw growth in travel, tourism, and investments. For example, Rwanda's removal of travel restrictions doubled visitor numbers and increased conference tourism. Traveling within Africa as an African shouldn't be this complicated. As the continent continues to develop and grow, governments and organizations need to work toward making travel more accessible and affordable for its own citizens. Every African deserves the opportunity to explore and appreciate the incredible beauty and diversity their continent has to offer.
A small local dredging business in Nigeria extracts excess sand from riverbeds during the dry season and sells it in the city. UNN Field Messenger Ugumbo Obasi explains how his seasonal business works and the challenges he faces.
Hello, I'm Ugumba Obasi for the United Network News. Here is Wana Beach. This is the local business we do here and how we do it. We extract sand from the Perapema, a large mass of sand in the middle of the river, and take it up. We are only able to do this now during the dry season when the river has gone down so much so that the Perapema is able to emerge in the center of the river. It is as much as we can store and sell during the rainy season, because during the rainy season where I am now, this is my sand depot. All the place is being covered with sand during the rainy season. But because of the nature of the land is so parallel that the water doesn't carry it, sweep it away. That's why it is able to stay during the rainy season. But we have another difficulty which arises from the transportation. The transportation of the sand from here to the town of 2 kilometers away is 10,000 naira as against 4,000 naira, which it stood around this time last year. The truck owners attribute the high cost of the transportation to the increase in diesel. The diesel is so cost now that we are being charged 10,000 naira from here to the town, which is quite less than 2 kilometers. Thank you for watching. Ugumba Obasi, United Network News.
In a significant policy shift, the UK government has announced a ban on the prescription of puberty blockers to minors, effective immediately, unless they're part of a controlled clinical trial. This move represents a major change in how the country handles gender-affirming healthcare for young people. And it's already sparking plenty of reactions, with some supporting the decision and others raising concerns. Puberty blockers, or hormone blockers, are medications that temporarily stop the changes that come with puberty. They're commonly used in gender-affirming care for transgender and non-binary young people. The idea is to give them more time to figure out their gender identity without the added pressure of their bodies going through the changes they may not want or feel comfortable with. By pausing puberty, these blockers help ease the distress of developing traits that don't match how they feel inside, allowing for a more thoughtful approach to any future steps in their gender journey. The debate around puberty blockers in the UK took a major turn in 2020 with the case of Kira Bell. She had taken puberty blockers as a teenager, but later regretted her decision to transition. Kira filed a lawsuit against the Tavistock Clinic, which is the UK's main provider of gender-affirming care for minors, claiming she hadn't fully understood the long-term impacts of her treatment at such a young age.
And then were you encouraged or was it you pushing to start changing things?
I think I was definitely pushing at the time, and I've never made that a secret. I was very adamant I wanted to go down that path. It's just there was absolutely no, from their side, there was no, hey, have you thought about this, or just what you would expect someone in that position to do, like a therapist or even a psychologist. I was seen by a social worker, I believe, for the most part. So, there was just no, I say pushback, but more so just I wasn't given a broader idea of what things meant, I guess.
After Kira's case, the UK government and healthcare regulators started looking closely at their policies on gender-affirming care. In December 2020, the UK put a temporary ban on prescribing puberty blockers to minors. The court decided that kids under 16 probably wouldn't fully understand the long-term effects of taking these medications. This led to a landmark review by UK pediatrician Dr. Hilary Class of gender identity services for young people in the UK. The review found there was a lack of research and weak evidence regarding medical interventions, like puberty blockers, for young people with gender-related concerns.
One of the problems is people are really unclear about why they're giving them, and I think that this is why we've got into this difficult situation.
What do you mean by that?
Okay, so original reasoning.
Yeah.
Help young people pass in adult life. I'll come back to that.
Yeah.
By time to think, the vast majority of young people who go on to puberty blockers continue on to masculinizing or feminizing hormones. So it doesn't seem to be buying time to think. And what we don't know is if you need your surges of sex hormones to work out who you are, to work out your sexuality, and also to help with your brain development, and we arrest that, then have we somehow changed the trajectory for that young person? We just don't have the knowledge of what it's doing. The guidelines that are most based on the evidence are the Swedish and the Finnish guidelines, and they suggest a much more conservative approach, similar to our recommendations, because the evidence isn't there. And genuinely, I can't think of another area of pediatric care where we give young people a potentially irreversible treatment and have no idea what happens to them in adulthood.
After this review was released, England's National Health Service stopped the routine prescription of puberty blocker treatments to anyone under 18. Then in December 2024, UK Health Secretary Wes Streeting announced the existing emergency ban on the sale and supply of puberty-suppressing hormones would be made indefinite. This decision followed advice from the Commission on Human Medicines, which identified an unacceptable safety risk in the continued prescription of puberty blockers to children.
There is not enough evidence about the long-term effects of using puberty blockers to treat gender incongruence to know whether they are safe or beneficial. I am acting on the Commission's advice to put an indefinite order in place to restrict the sale or supply of puberty blockers through a prescription issued by either a private UK prescriber or a prescriber registered outside the UK for under 18s. I know it's not easy being a trans kid in our country today. The trans community is at the wrong end of all of the statistics for mental ill health, self-harm and suicide. I can't pretend to know what that's like, but I do know what it's like to feel you have to bury a secret about yourself, to be afraid of who you are, to be bullied for it, and then to experience the liberating experience of coming out. I know it won't feel like it based on the decisions I'm taking today, but I really do care about this, and so does this government. I'm determined to improve the quality of care and access to healthcare for all trans people.
People who oppose the UK's ban on puberty blockers argue it takes away important health care from transgender and non-binary youth, potentially making their mental health worse by stopping them from delaying physical changes they don't want. They're also concerned without puberty blockers, young people might feel forced to make permanent decisions like hormone therapy or surgery too soon. Some worry the ban could make these kids feel like their identities aren't valid, which could affect their emotional well-being. Supporters of puberty blockers say they're safe and crucial when used the right way in gender-affirming care. While many countries allow minors to access puberty blockers as part of gender-affirming care, it's not universally accepted, and the issue remains a hot topic of debate. At the heart of this issue are young people simply trying to understand themselves and live authentically. Whether you see the UK's decision as a necessary precaution or a harmful barrier, it's important to remember that behind all these headlines and political debates are real lives and real stories. It's something to keep in mind as we continue to explore this sensitive and developing topic. Becoming a nurse practitioner is a big step for registered nurses, allowing them to diagnose patients, create treatment plans, and even run their own practice. But the journey to get there isn't easy, especially when it comes to completing the required supervised clinical hours with a preceptor, a clinical instructor who trains new nurses. Finding a preceptor can be surprisingly tricky, as there simply aren't enough qualified clinical instructors available. Nurse practitioner students across the United States need clinical rotations to graduate, but unlike medical students, they don't get federal funding to support their training. Many are left to find their preceptors on their own. For most students, this is their only chance to work with real patients before starting their careers, and without enough hours, graduation gets delayed. Desperate, some students turn to Facebook, deliver cookies to clinics, or even pay preceptors out of pocket. This isn't just a student problem. It affects patients too. With little oversight, there's no guarantee nurse practitioners are fully prepared to treat patients. Yet, students are left with few resources to get the training they need.
I think one of the most important educators, probably the most important educators we truly have in our profession, are our field training officers and preceptors. Because, right, like, honestly, they spend more time with our students.
One-on-one time, too.
One-on-one time with our students. And not only do they sort of teach them in the real world, they're also educating our students around, like, what is our specialty, right? Mm-hmm. Like, how do we behave in the field? Like, how do we deal with tough situations? And I tell people, like, no matter what I teach or say in the classroom, if they go into the field and they have a trusting relationship with somebody who tells them something different, like, they're the one that they're gonna listen to.
The growing popularity of nurse practitioner programs has led to more students than ever needing clinical placements. but there aren't enough experienced nurses willing to step into the preceptor role to meet the demand. Many seasoned nurse practitioners feel overwhelmed by their patient care responsibilities, and the added workload of mentoring students can lead to burnout or reluctance, especially if they've had negative experiences in the past. On top of that, precepting can initially slow down workflows in clinical settings, where productivity is often prioritized, making it less appealing for providers to take on students. This imbalance has created a competitive and challenging environment for students trying to secure clinical rotations.
Hi, nurse friends. So as I am on my last leg of my nurse practitioner program, my last clinical, I just want to have a discussion around how I feel, in my opinion, that it is such a disservice that preceptors or practitioners are charging students thousands of dollars for them to precept the students. And I just think that is such a disservice. And I think the whole preceptor search is so crazy because I had the worst time securing my preceptors. And I feel like it's geared towards like the money and like, you know, making a profit from it. But I feel like overall the profit of you precepting someone is to expand a student's knowledge to advance the field of whatever you're in. For me, that's psychiatry. That's just being a nurse practitioner in psychiatry. I think that is such a disservice that practitioners are charging students an arm and a leg.
Finding a nurse practitioner preceptor can be tough, but a little planning and the right strategies can make the process smoother. Start by reviewing the clinical requirements for your practicum site and preceptor. This will save you time and help you stay organized. Tap into your networking and professional skills. Reach out to potential preceptors. Highlight how both of you can benefit from the experience. And follow up persistently. Don't overlook your own connections. Ask your healthcare providers, colleagues, or instructors for recommendations. They might point you toward the perfect preceptor. Treat every interaction like a job interview. Showcase your strengths. Explain what makes you unique, and be ready to adapt. Keep your options open. Have backup plans, and if needed, explore paid preceptor matching services. Also connect with other students, professionals, or online forums. These networks can provide valuable leads and support as you search.
The best way to build a strong relationship with your preceptor is this. Actively look for ways to add value to their lives and their practice. The average student is far more focused on what it is they can get out of their preceptor and what their preceptor can do for them. But this is a huge mistake, and here's why. The most successful and fruitful mentoring relationships are two-way streets where both parties benefit from the relationship. And so, ask not what your preceptor can do for you, but what you can do for your preceptor.
Fixing the nurse practitioner preceptor shortage requires teamwork from schools, healthcare facilities, and policymakers. Supporting preceptors through training, mentorship, and resources can make teaching easier. Incentives like recognition, financial rewards, or lighter workloads can also encourage more professionals to take on the role. Simplifying the process is important. Centralized platforms to match students with preceptors and less paperwork can save time and reduce stress. These changes can create a stronger, more supportive system for both preceptors and students while boosting the healthcare workforce.
Did you know that hemp laws vary drastically between the United States and Mexico? From application fees to government testing, these differences highlight two very distinct approaches to the same crop. UNN Field Messenger Wayne helps us to understand the complexity of hemp regulation.
Hello everyone, this is Field Messenger Wayne from Tucson. And today I'd like to talk about some differences between hemp legislation in various states in the U.S. and then Mexico. So this is the printed version of Mexico's hemp law. And it's been gone completely over and highlighted with 4 colors, and they are depicting what each color is. So yellow lists which departments are concerned with hemp. The green is what are the benefits of hemp. The pink is about which laws have actually already been legalized or are now enforceable. And orange, the orange color means what you have to do if you are interested in getting into hemp. Now, the interesting thing about this, as we look at this and look at the different sections, the different clauses, right? What Mexico decided is rather than have each state go catis-quiwampas like we did in the United States, they would make their law be one law covering the whole nation. The Mexican government was sued by a Canadian CBD company to be allowed to do CBD products, which is a derivative of the hemp flower. And this is the law they came up with after that. Now, here's what it says. If you want to plant hemp, plant it. You need to notify the local chief of police and the local commander for whichever unit of National Guard is stationed closest to you, because they don't have federales anymore in Mexico. They changed them to what they call the National Guard down there now. Once you notify them, you're good. When you're going to harvest, you notify them again. They will come out, the government themselves, and test it. They also want to know where you're going to send it for processing, and they want to inspect that facility. And then from processing, they want to know what you're going to do with the raw materials derived from the processing. And they want to inspect each one of the places where you would either utilize those raw materials yourself to make a product or sell them to another company. And they'll go and they'll do their inspection. And then they want to inspect the final product that you make from that raw material before it goes to market. That's the extent of it. It's 100% free. It doesn't cost anything, which is a far cry from anything in the United States. Now, as far as Texas goes, Texas wants $100 for each person that's in your situation, your company, your group, your association. $100 for every vehicle. And this is yearly, by the way. Everyone has to apply yearly every 10 months because it's 2 months processing to get the permit every year. $100 per thing, $100 for every field, $100 for every vehicle, $100 for every person, $100 for every building, $100 for every product you're going to make, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's atrocious. The Arizona law is similar to Texas's. Colorado's law says whatever part of the plant is not used for CBD must be destroyed, which is crazy. Washington and California is a little bit easier than Arizona and Texas. I think Mexico's is the friendliest, in my opinion. Appreciate you watching.
UNN is changing the face of news. Join us for our weekly Field Messenger meetings and learn how you can make a difference. Visit unitednetwork.earth for more information. Thanks for watching.